Hey, this is Tiqqle, and in this video we're going over the 10.1 Elemental Shaman PvP guide. This is before the tier sets come out, before that's going to be available to kickstart you in the season. In this guide, we're going to go over the TLDR for those people that don't want to sit around and listen to a 10-minute video. We're going to go over the key changes for 10.1, and there were a ton of them, particularly for Shaman, and we'll talk about that quickly. We'll go over the stats and gear. This is actually particularly important now that there's been some gear changes, some two-set adjustments to the trinkets, as well as some embellishments that you're going to want to get. And I promise you, you will get them, no matter what the gold cost of them, which is currently pretty ridiculous. We'll go over the talents. We'll go over basically the generic talents I think are the best right now before the tier set. We'll go over how to burst, and then we'll talk a little bit about macros and best races. I do want to let you know that this guide is fully on my Icy Veins page. You can go there. If you have any questions about it, come to the stream every day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's go ahead and jump into it, starting with the TLDR for you people that can't sit around. Number one, stat priorities, not surprisingly, verse and haste. What do you want for crafted stuff? You want to get the crafted boots. The effect has changed since last season. It's going to give you a primary stat buff if you interrupt or crowd control someone, but that actually could work to your advantage being an Elemental Shaman with a very short interrupt. Talents, go ahead and copy the string down below. TLDR, it is the Lava Bursty build, and this is the burst, basically using your Fire Elemental, which I think some people, including myself, have frequently used Fire Elemental too passively. You actually should only use him when you want to burst. Your Fire Elemental, beyond doing nice sustained damage, his Meteor can do up to 100k damage. You want to line that up with your burst. So this is the burst rotation, basically using Sky Fury, making sure you have Maelstrom, using Fire Ellie, Sky Fury, which will increase your crit dam. You want to use a Frost Shock, even if you haven't gotten off of your Ice Fury yet. Use Primordial on as many make sure you have as many targets flame shocked as possible. Primordial, and then you want to go ahead and use your Lava Burst with your Meteor, using the macros that you can go to my Icy Veins page and get. Then you want to go ahead and Earth Shock, Lava Burst, Earth Shock, Lava Burst, which you'll be able to do because you're getting free Lava Burst procs from Primordial Surge from the talents that you copy-pasted. You're also going to want to take the new PvP talent, Burrow, which is an immunity. We're going to talk about that more, but it's incredible, and it can also do up to 100k damage. Volcanic Surge is another PvP talent. We don't know how to use it yet, so don't take it. So that's it for the TLDR. Let's go ahead and slow it down a tiny bit and jump into the key updates. The two updates that I think are the most exciting are the PvP talent updates. Obviously, that comes with some playstyle changes. Number one, Burrow. This is an immunity. We finally got an immunity. Shamans rejoice because it's across all the different specs. This is basically you become untargetable. You go under the ground, you can move faster, and when you come out of the ground, you knock people into the air, and you can do up to 100k damage. Now, I will tell you, you still take dot damage, and I think you still take full dot damage underground. I recently died underground. It was kind of surprising to me, but I'm pretty sure you take full damage underground. But you also have Volcanic Surge, so this is something that people that have played LA Shaman for forever, like myself, this will make you think of Control of Lava, what was recently removed from, I think, Dragonflight. This has increased the damage of Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 25%. Interesting that they included Chain Lightning there. And the damage of Lava Burst by 45%, which is pretty big, especially because it crits every time. Lava Surge now no longer gives you an instant cast Lava Burst. Instead, it reduces the cast time of Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt. Now, I think it is interesting that Chain Lightning is even included here at all. It makes me wonder if Chain Lightning with Stormkeeper is going to be an option. I'm just kind of tinfoil hatting it on the fly here, but I think that it could be possible. Lightning Bolt, still, the damage peaks are not incredible, but because maybe of how Chain Lightning works with Stormkeeper overloading on each target, maybe that could be quite good. We'll see how that pans out. But those are two of the PvP talent changes, but there is a whole lot of other changes, and I'll put the patch notes down below, but I think there's a few that are worth calling out. Number one, your Wind Shear interrupt is now 2-second interrupt instead of 3. Okay, so what? But a nice good enhancement is Earth Grab Totem now has a 30-second cooldown instead of 1 minute. That's very nice. You'll be fully off diminishing returns. You'll be able to root those Ret Warriors that are chasing you down, or those DHs that keep fluttering at you. A few other things that happen, which are a big deal, are what was previously Control of Lava, where if you, which is currently was currently in the game, which is Flame Shock, if you dispel Flame Shock, it knocks them in the air and it does damage. That's now baseline, which is huge. That's basically default dispel protection for the Elemental Shaman, Flame Shock being the core of a lot of these builds, particularly for Lava Burst. Next, there's some things that, there was some other tuning that basically didn't affect PvP, but there was changes that affected PvP that are basically saying that that Lava Burst damage got increased, which I think is kind of surprising, but maybe there's something compensating that. You can let me know down in the comments. A few other changes that happened. Season Winds now lasts 18 seconds and stacks up to 3 times. You might be like, well, we're never going to take that. What is that? Season Winds is when you interrupt a school of magic from the opposing team, you get a 15% reduced damage. So now, if you interrupt 3 times, which you can do back to back to back, you can get up to a minus 45, like basically 45% damage reduction of those schools that you're interrupting. So think about this against a Frost Mage. Think about this against Affliction Warlocks. Think about this against Shadow Priest. You're going to be able to be 45% reduced damage all the time if you just interrupt them on cooldown. I also think it's very good because it'll train you to use your interrupt, which is critically important. A few things were removed, like Swelling Waves and Spectral Recovery, but you don't need to worry about them anymore because they're gone forever. So that's it for the key changes. Let's move on to stats and gear. This is actually pretty important. Previous expansions and previous PvP seasons, it hasn't been that big of a deal. It's becoming a really big deal in Dragonflight. Number one, you want to make sure you get your Infurious Boots of the Reprieve. This used to reduce crowd control by like 5%. It's actually, I think, better now because I don't know how noticeable that was. I'm sure it's a big deal. Someone's going to yell at me in the comments, but I like this one more. Successfully applying a loss of control effect to an enemy, Hex, Stun, potential, probably lasso, interrupting an enemy, or dispelling any target increases, which might even be purge. I'm not sure. I have to test it out. Increases your primary stat by 340 by 10 for 10 seconds. May occur only once every 30 seconds. Once every 30 seconds is pretty good, and that's basically like a trinket proc over and over and over and over and over. And as an early shaman, you're so disruptive that you're going to be doing this all the time. So it's very good. I recommend you get that. It's still going to be good into this patch. Now, the gem I recommend for now at least is the Verse Haste, because our stat priorities again are going to be Verse, Haste, Mastery, Crit. I think it may change after the tier sets. There were some other changes in 10.1 I didn't mention, like crit damage has been reduced, mainly not for Ellies, mainly for other classes like Ret Paladins and other classes that are just peaking crits that are insane with their multipliers, but it kind of has dampened everything. But for now, Haste, Verse Haste. The other one here that's a little that's in the middle of the screen is an embellishment. So there used to be a PvP talent, maybe you may or may not have been familiar with it. It was called Precognition. It was if an interrupt is used on you when you're not casting, you gain 15% haste and become immune to crowd control, interrupt, and spell pushback for 4 seconds. This is actually a big deal. You can put this on top of enchants, on top of pieces of gear, and I recommend you do that once this becomes affordable. Right now, it's not affordable, but some of you have a ton of gold, so you can probably afford it. But basically, you want to make sure there's guides on YouTube about how to apply embellishments. If you're like, what is an embellishment? An embellishment is basically an enchant on top of an enchant. So you can enchant gear, you can also embellish it, and that you can have, I think, up to 2. And Precog is a really good one for LA Shamans because you're going to be casting, and you can avoid crowd control. You can avoid it being interrupted once you juke people. So juking is also a great skill in PvP. So that's it for the stats and gear. Also, again, very important. Let's go to the talents. I'm not going to go over every talent. I'm just going to show it to you, and I'm going to let you know down below there's the link to it. Basically, I'm just going to highlight a few things. Number one, on the Shaman tree, you should be using Healing Stream almost on cooldown. I think it actually does a significant amount of healing. I'm not taking Gust of Wind for now, mainly because I think that Spirit Walker's Grace is probably a little bit better for now, at least for mobility and kind of like being able to cast on the move, but like stick your hexes. Otherwise, there's nothing else really to call it on the Shaman tree other than maybe Ancestral Guidance. If you don't know about this, you definitely need to use this to counter goes from the enemy, especially when you're bursting. It can help your healer top everybody up without using cooldowns. Otherwise, everything is pretty normal on the left side. The right side, again, you probably have seen this build before. I've been using this build a lot, but it's just kind of reinforcing that I still do believe that the Ice Fury, Flux Melting, Primordial Surge is still the way to go. I think Lava Burst is still the key. I think Stormkeeper might become important later. But I'm not going to go over every single talent. If you want me to go over every single talent, let me know down below, and maybe I can do like a deep dive. But I don't want to take up the time to do that with you. I think that you probably already have seen this build. If you haven't, this is kind of the standard one that's been going on in previous patches. But let's go ahead and jump into Burst. I'm sure people are most interested in this. Now, again, we did talk about this. We did talk about how using Fire Ellie, using your Sky Fury, etc. is important. But the main thing I'll call out here, because this isn't the TLDR section, is you can weave in Frost Shocks ahead of your Lava Bursts. If you Frost Shock, you get a plus 20% damage increase to Lava Burst. So you can filter them in. And even the only requirement is that you have to get Ice Fury off, beforehand, right? Now, Frost Shocks can do between like 30 to 70k damage, at least on the dummies. And Earth Shocks are doing way more than that. And that's also because you have a tier set right now. Once that tier set goes away for Earth Shock, if you don't know, the tier set basically gives you a stacking buff for that. Once that goes away, maybe Frost Shock will be better than Earth Shock, but for now, it's just not the case. We'll, again, have an updated video once I'm able to... once we're able to test with the tier sets a little bit more. Again, it's on the PTR, but not on live. So here, we're going to go ahead and open. Again, we'll open with Ice Fury. We're going to go ahead, refresh. We go Pet, Sky Fury, Frost Shock. I'm going to Primordial. We're going to Lava Burst and Pet, Meteor, Earth Shock, Frost Shock, Lava Burst. I'm going to Earth Shock, Frost Shock, Lava Burst. I'm going to Earth Shock, Frost Shock, because we're getting the procs from Primordial, so that's actually optimizing it a little bit more. So that's that. So the damage looking like, yeah, Lava Burst hitting for upwards of 90,000, which is pretty darn good. The Meteor hit for 62,000 non-crit. Earth Shock's hitting for about 60 to 80k, so you're going to be doing some pretty consistent pump through there. And there was also Fire Blast with my pet of 320k. So through all of that, right? Now, Frost Shocks, again, Frost Shocks, the first one was 14k because I was... I think it was unbuffed, but then it was 42k for all the normal hits. Now, if I crit all of this stuff, which does make me wonder about crit, it would do more damage. Ice Fury itself does like no damage, but that's the deal. So that's it, upwards of 90k, but that's the burst. And I think it's, again, it's not like a very small window, but it is a pretty consistent pump. So that's what I would say. And lastly, for macros and best races, all that stuff, I have a detailed guide on Icy Veins about that, but the TLDR is Dark Iron best on Alliance. It just gives you a huge buff of int and is great to self-dispel. And on Horde, I think it's going to be Orc again, given that they also have an on-use buff, as well as the stun duration reduction is actually going to be a big deal now because that's no longer part of the 2 set from the trinket. So enjoy that. For macros, I'll put some up on the screen here, but I would definitely check out the Icy Veins page for a comprehensive list. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Let me know if you have any suggestions or things I should try out or share with people. Go ahead, put it down in the comments. Of course, you guys are very intelligent, way smarter than me usually, especially in the comment section. So let me know, and we'll see you guys in the next one or on stream, everybody. Peace out. Bye.